Hey, my name is Quay Russaw, and you're watching Christmas Drive, driven by NASCAR.
This is what being a NASCAR fan is all about. Singular history and tradition. Unmatched on-track intensity. And triple-header playoffs action to ratchet up the stakes. Throw in a can't-miss concert, camping, and the legendary atmosphere of Talladega Boulevard. And you've got more than a race. You've got Talladega. Get your tickets now at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com.
Roll Tide and welcome to this Thursday edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. This is Roger Hoover. Great to be with you in Tuscaloosa. It is game week. We are almost ready to go down to Tallahassee for Alabama against Florida State. We'll take a look at what's coming up on the show today, plus our headlines, thanks to our friends RJ Young. RJ Young is the official technology solutions provider of Crimson Drive. They've given us a smart board to go through everything very interactively on this Thursday afternoon. Our show will begin with a one-on-one conversation with Quay Russaw, one of the defenders for the Crimson Tide. Yes, a linebacker, but really plays the wolf position. We'll talk about that with Quay Russaw coming up in just a few moments. Then we'll get more on the Seminoles with really good back-to-back interviews. First of all, from Eric Lain of the ACC Network. He'll give us his thoughts on not just Florida State, but the ACC in general leading into this season, and then a very detailed scouting report on the Seminoles by the voice of the Noles, Jeff Culhane. The other booth presented by Marathon. We always visit with the opposing broadcaster each and every Thursday to get a scouting report on Alabama's opponent. Then we'll close things out by hearing from Coach DeBoer. He was at Baumhower's last night. We'll hear his final word of the night as we get ready for Alabama against Florida State from our Hey Coach replay. Crimson Tide football. It is finally here. The season opener, Alabama against Florida State, coming up on Saturday. Central Time, it will be 2:30 p.m. kickoff. 11:30 a.m. we will hit the air. Chris Stewart, Tyler Watts, Corey Reamer, and I will have all the pregame coverage for you. Also, Christian Miller coming up as part of our pregame coverage. And then Christian and Gray Robertson will have our final hour of coverage as well. 8 hours of coverage we'll bring to you coming up on Saturday. All of it coming from Tallahassee, Florida. Crimson Tide, we've really enjoyed season openers the last few years. Coach Saban, of course, never lost a season opener. DeBoer already 1-0 as Alabama's head coach in the season opener, and he'll try and make it 23 consecutive years that Alabama has started the season with a win. Final bullet point, adjustments to future schedules. So we saw the news come out last week, Southeastern Conference moving starting next year to a 9-game conference schedule as opposed to 8. You only have 12 games to play. So with that, 3 non-conference games, Alabama has adjusted the schedule for the next 2 years in terms of non-conference play, canceling a home-and-home series with West Virginia. Moving into next year's schedule will be the East Carolina Pirates, a team from the AAC. So we will see East Carolina on the schedule, but we will not see the matchup mutually agreed upon between the Big 12's West Virginia and the SEC's Alabama Crimson Tide. More details about that, plus some of the reasoning behind that with Greg Byrne, available on RollTide.com. Crimson Tide football getting started. How about the volleyball team? They're getting started as well this weekend at historic Foster Auditorium, hosting the Crimson Tide Invitational. We'll see Alabama take on UNC Asheville, Jacksonville University, and then UAB as well. So best of luck to Rashinda Reed and the Crimson Tide as they will start the season. Soccer team will continue rolling as they've already been playing for 2 weeks, and coming up this Friday, they'll be taking on a very talented Mercer team from the Southern Conference, 7 p.m. We look forward to that. Alabama's has Larkin Thomason on the roster. She transferred from Mercer to Alabama. She was a SoCon Player of the Year last year. Now she's playing against some of her former teammates coming up tomorrow. And then cross country, preseason number 1. Not just men's cross country, but also women's cross country. Alabama the pick by both of the polls that are coming out for men's and women's cross country. So great to see that for Coach Dan Waters and the Crimson Tide. Right now, we'll talk with Quay Russaw, the Crimson Tide football team. He joins us from our Advantage Center studios, the LLH Advantage Center, for a one-on-one conversation detailing his journey from Montgomery to here in Tuscaloosa to play for the Crimson Tide, plus what may look different for this Alabama defense in 2025. Welcome back to Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. This is Roger Hoover. Now I'm back with you at LLH Advantage Center here inside Saban Field. Please be joined by Crimson Tide defender Quay Russaw. Is going to be coming off the edge for the Crimson Tide, getting a lot of sacks, tackles for a loss. Quay, how's everything been going as you get ready for this season?
Everything been going well. Been a mental fall camp. Just trying to get the guys to stay consistent this year and just keep going. Yeah.
What have you liked about this defense so far? What's the attitude you guys are playing with?
Uh, as a defense, I feel like we are like really playing to the Swarm D identity. Everybody decided to improve from last year. We know we didn't do as well. I mean, we had a lot of takeaways, but especially at the sack production, getting to the quarterback, we really wasn't our best last year. So, as a defensive front and a whole defense, that's something we really got to improve on this year, and we've been working on it this whole offseason.
Certainly working hard in the weight room as well. Kind of what was your focus in there?
And this year, more of speed, more quickness. Last year, I was a little heavy. This year, I dropped about 10 pounds. Last year, I played around 250 in that area. This year, I'm playing at 240, 238 in that range. So, yeah, this offseason has been tough for real for everybody. A lot of explosive movements to get that quickness. Yeah.
You already seeing it pay off?
Yeah. I could tell this summer just with doing like Indy, my get off is a lot more quicker than last year. And we got Shadid. He teaches like in Indy like the right techniques and movements to help with that get off. Yeah.
So that's really good. So that should have people excited about this defense this year. There was a funny moment. There was a comment by Kane Womack talking about like all the different players on this team. He said, the team full of freaky guys, meaning freak athletes. Quay Russaw is the freakiest. What did it mean to you when you heard that quote?
I thought it was pretty funny. A lot of guys text me like, whoa. Coach Womack got to use some different kind of words, but it means a lot when your defensive coordinator believes in you and believes in my abilities to play on the field. Yeah,
is he a fun coach to play for?
Yeah, he is, and he's like he pushes hard. Even when we're at our best, he still try to find ways for us to get better. He let us know like there's always like room for improvement.
That's certainly good. So that's kind of where the Crimson Tide are as we start this 2025 season. Let's go back though a little bit, talk about your journey, how you got to Alabama. First of all, tell us where you grew up.
I grew up in Troy, Alabama. I was there till like 9th grade. Moved to Montgomery my 10th grade year to play football at Carver University. I mean, we call it the U at Carver, but Carver High School in Montgomery. That's where I met my brother James, and yeah, I was there for the rest of my high school career, and from there I'm here now.
That's really cool. You mentioned growing up in Troy. Were you around like some Troy athletics? Did you go to any games or anything like that much on campus growing up?
I went to a few, but we played at the stadium on Fridays, but it wasn't really not like that. I went to a few games.
I gotcha. So you mentioned you go to Carver in Montgomery, and that's a step up a little bit. That's some of the best high school football in the state. Yeah. What was it about that program that made you guys so good?
Like, when I looked at it, like all the guys, at first I really didn't want to play for them. I wanted to go to Georgia with my friend to go play until like I did my research. A lot of great guys that come through there. Marlon Davidson, Sean Dion Hamilton, Matt Wilson. You got the quarterback that went to Auburn, Jeremy. So a lot of guys that come through that school, the tradition they have with putting those guys in great situations to go to college. That's why I chose that.
So, and then you got to know James Smith. What was it like getting to play with him now in high school, and then here you are reunited at Alabama?
Mean, it's crazy how much he's grown and like personality-wise and his maturity from 10th grade when I first met him. Because when I first saw him, it's crazy, man. Like he just used to be all over the place, even from freshman year. Like he's really grown. I'm proud of him for real. Like the steps he took to now, it's been exciting to see.
You think he's gonna have a big season?
Yeah, for sure he will. We worked hard this offseason, me and him. We worked with Marlon Davidson to kind of refine some of our techniques with pass rushing, and I'm excited for me and him both like to to go show that this season.
Well, when you go to a good program like Carver, you're going to get a lot of attention. People watching your games, not only in state but around the country. What was it about the recruiting process that you liked? Was it a stressful time for you trying to narrow it down to a few schools and then eventually make your pick?
I'll say for myself, I'm kind of a guy like I don't like talking to a lot of people, so the recruiting process was really hard for me because you got all these coaches trying to talk to you, they texting you, and hear me, I'm just chill guy. Like I don't like talking to different type of people. But for me, it was really like just Coach Saban coming to my house because I actually grew up an Auburn fan and I hated Bama. So it was like I don't care about Coach Saban or Alabama. I don't like them. But when Coach Saban actually came to my house, I got a chance to like actually hear about the process and like the I'll say the tradition of this program that really give players the opportunity to get to the next level. And for us, that's the ultimate goal. Other than like building relationships with your teammates. But yeah.
That's really cool. What else do you remember about that official visit when he came to your house? Did you have a lot of friends and family that maybe wouldn't be hanging around? All of a sudden they showed up that day. Did you have any good food, anything like that?
It was very private. It was just me, my mom, some of my mentors, which they already knew him from like the previous guys, like I said, Sean Dion and Matt Wilson. So it was just really, really professional and private, and it was like a great talk.
That's really good. So again, great experience getting to meet him and learn more about Alabama. What do you feel like? Was it really just the pathway to the NFL that helped sway your decision more than anything?
I mean, that and just Coach Saban. He's a guy. He won. He got a lot of knowledge, and he's a guy you can learn from. And who wouldn't want to play for him? So yeah, that's why I decided to come here.
That's really good. And you got to be around for his final season in 2023. What do you feel like you learned the most, even if you weren't on the field as much as you would have liked? What did you feel like you learned that year?
I mean, I learned a lot that year. Like, coming my freshman year, I already knew, like, it was a chance that I wasn't going to play because we had Dallas Turner, Christopher Braswell, and two other vets. I mean, like, older guys in the room that was there before me. But I knew it was a chance for me to go there and learn. Because coming from Carver, I really didn't know much football. I was just running and hitting like C-ball, hit ball. That's what we called it. So I had a chance to learn a lot from them guys. Dallas Turner actually came, and this offseason, I just talked to him about a little pass rush stuff and like working with my hands more and stuff he learned from the league. But overall, from my freshman year, I've learned like success is only momentary. Success is only momentary. Being consistent could lead you like further. It was something like that. But yeah, Coach Saban, he's just a big guy that he's hard, he's strict, and that's what keep like that winning tradition.
Yeah, and it led to an SEC championship for you while you're here freshman year. And then, of course, in January, everything changed. Coach Saban announces he's retiring. A few days later, DeBoer comes in as the new head coach along with a brand new staff. What was that period like for you as you started? Because some players did leave at around that time, but why did you stay at Alabama?
See, for me, it was kind of hard because I was stuck in between, like, do I want to leave because there's new people I don't know, or do I want to give these people, like, these new guys a chance? For me, I stayed because I knew I had an opportunity to play here the following year, and I was my route. I was on because I didn't really play much the year before, so that next year I knew I had an opportunity to get on the field and create value for myself.
And you certainly did that. Yeah. And you got to be part of this new group, part of the first team for Coach DeBoer. What are you most proud of when you look back at the 24 season?
What I'm most proud of, it's not really much to be proud of from last season because everybody in the building, like, understand, like, that wasn't the standard. Like, we didn't do as good as we needed to do, especially in those close games where we lost at the end. But something I would be proud of is that throughout that course, everybody stayed together. We gave it our best at times, like where we didn't, when things didn't didn't look good. Like we always tried to keep going, and yeah,
That's good. And individually, you had some really good moments. Of course, getting on the field for the first time, and you mentioned Swarm D. We love takeaways. You
yeah,
got to tell us about your interceptions. First against Missouri, and then the one against Mercer was incredible,
yeah.
one-handed.
The first one versus Missouri, I was in kind of like a zone technique. He overthrew it. I had to go get it. You always gotta take them freebies. And the one versus Mercer, Deontay Lawson, he tipped it, and I had to come back and grab it. But like that stuff we working on in before practice every day, like tip drills, matching the hand, which Deontay Lawson did, and just coming back to the ball, running to the ball, and that's the type of identity we want to have as a defense. Everybody want to be around the ball.
That's great. And how good of a leader is Deontay Lawson? How good is it to have him back this year?
Deontay Lawson, man, that's a guy I looked up to since day one. Like I'll never forget the moment like Coach Saban retired, and we was just sitting both in the training room in the hot tub, and we was like trying to figure out what we both was gonna do. And he was just telling me like you gonna be one of them ones, like just keep going, like you up next. So like that's a moment I like never forget. Like every time I see D-Lo, I know like I don't want to let him down. Like I see him on the field, I know I want to give him my best because like that's a guy, he's believed in me since I was we like to say in the locker room like a youngin. Like so like yeah, that's a guy I really look up to.
He's a great leader for this defense. Now for you, do you feel like you're more of a leader as you get ready for your third year here?
Yeah, I feel like I'm more of a leader, kind of like that. You kind of get that role when you play a lot, but like I'm someone the guys can look up to and see like what they need to do to be able to have the success or have that have the identity of coaches to see if they are accountable or not.
That's good. And you mentioned the youngins. You were at one point were a youngin.
Yeah.
How about some of the freshmen that are coming in this year? Who's
Yeah.
impressed you in your room?
Justin Hill, he's been doing a phenomenal job of just sticking to the process, and just coming every day to work. And obviously Noah Carter, he's very talented. We just need him to just keep going. Just don't never stop and believe in himself.
For you, you grew up an Auburn fan, so
Yeah.
you come over, you get to play for the Crimson Tide, get to be a part of all of this great tradition. What have you embraced the most? What have you enjoyed the most, especially about game day here in Tuscaloosa?
The culture, like, it's just phenomenal. Like, you pull up Brian Denny, you see all the fans, stadium packed. We got the sun we always sing. It's just something different about this place. Like, in the brotherhood we built like throughout our locker room, this is different.
And the fans been really good too when you're around campus or around town?
I try to stay at home. Like I stay out the way, my hood on. I go straight from class, straight to the facility. I don't really come in contact with a lot of people.
I gotcha. Well, there's a lot of excitement for what you can do this season in this defense and for this team as well. Just what do you feel like Alabama's capable of this year?
Ultimately, we want to win the national championship. I feel like for this team, the sky's the limit. From a standpoint, from the locker room, everybody are very locked in. To relationship-wise, we all know each other well, and we're capable of being the best that we can be.
We look forward to seeing it. Quay Russaw, thank you so much for the time you've given us here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. All the best this season. Thank you. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
Can't wait to see what Quay Russaw and this Crimson Tide defense will do coming up on Saturday against Florida State. Somebody that not only covers the Seminoles, he once played against them at Doak Campbell Stadium. Eric Lain joins us from the ACC Network. Does a great job breaking down college football. Really knows ACC football better than anybody in the country. He joins us to talk about Florida State, plus some of the key matchups over the weekend we'll see from ACC football, thinking about his Clemson Tigers against LSU, plus Miami and Notre Dame. Some thoughts on that coming up from the ACC Network's Eric Lain.
This week it's SEC versus ACC, so Eric, it's perfect time to have you on with us. How's everything going as you get ready for week one?
Man, week one is here, brother. Let's go. I mean, you talk about a juiced up, excited week. I don't know if we've had one of this magnitude in quite a long time. And why I think it is such another level up is because most of these games are at home stadiums. It's not a bunch of neutral sites. Like we've got some really fun brands going some really fun places. Bama coming to Tallahassee to take on Florida State, Miami hosting Notre Dame, Clemson hosting LSU. I mean, there's some bangers. Texas going up to Ohio State. It's going to be a really fun weekend.
Well, let's start with, of course, Crimson Tide against Florida State. And you mentioned going on the road. This first time Alabama's played in Tallahassee. Just as someone that's played there, been to games there, what's that atmosphere like when FSU's good at Doak Campbell?
Yeah, well, I'm glad you put that stipulation in. It's a little bit different when the Noles are rocking. So we'll see. A newly renovated stadium. So we're excited about that to see, how that shapes out, what it looks like on TV, and some of the great things that Florida State has done there. And but it's rocking. I mean, that tomahawk chop gets going, and Renegade runs out there. They plant the spear. It's electric. It is a great entrance. It's a great kind of moment in college football, and just these two brands getting together. I mean, it's crazy. They've only played twice ever, which is bizarre to think about that. But man, what an awesome opportunity for both teams, both brands to play in a game of this caliber.
Well, we wanted to have you on to learn more about Florida State. And just from your perspective, covering this team the last few years, how would you describe the roller coaster we saw to obviously the great heights in 23, Alabama getting that playoff spot just ahead of them that season. And then last year got off to a tough start and it just got worse and worse, it seemed like.
Yeah, it's been chaotic to say the least. 3 years ago, 10-win team. 2 years ago, 14 undefeated. Obviously lose the Orange Bowl, and then last year to literally the worst season in Florida State history. They've been playing ball a long, long time there, and it was just so strange. And quarterback play was a big part of it, but also just overall misses in the portal, and that's the world we're in right now, man. You can go and retool your whole team, but you better be right, and you better have got some right pieces. And Florida State did not last year, and they suffered a major, kind of consequence from that. Totally rebuilt the team again, so we'll see. And again, the test that they're going to have week one against you guys is going to be tremendous. I think that defense for Alabama is going to be electric. Tommy Castellanos, the new quarterback for Florida State. There's a guy that's been in the ACC, so we've known him his whole career. Really, elusive, a creator, in the pocket. That guy can extend plays with his legs, can pick up great yards. I mean, he was a 2025, 28, yard passer, 100-yard passer, and 1,000-yard rusher just a couple of years ago. So I think that's kind of where he wants to be, 3,000, 1,000. Passing and running. So that's going to be something obviously Bama has to pay attention to, and kind of force them to play 11 on 11, if you will, with the quarterback run. And then just the other skill players, like they've got some big guys that come in. Deuce Robinson's a guy that he's going to be kind of where's Waldo, wearing number 0. He's 6'6", 240, but he plays wide receiver. He came in, from high school as a tight end, but he's a versatile weapon for them that they're going to move around. They're going to try to get him the ball and just try to find mismatches if that's possible, on this Alabama defense.
What should we expect from Florida State on offense? We kind of know what the brand is for Mike Norvell throughout the years, even going back to his time in Memphis, but now Gus Malzahn comes in as well. A little bit different as the offensive coordinator. How they can try and blend that together this year?
Yeah, I think they're going to want to run the ball effectively, throughout the course of the year. And they obviously have Williams in the backfield, who Bama fans are probably very familiar with, and some other guys, some younger guys, some experienced guys that, there's a good diverse background or backfield that can do a lot of different things as pass catchers, but also run the ball between the tackles. And so I think they're going to want to be heavy run, but not be afraid to air it out. That big weapon that I said, and some others out on the perimeter. It really is going to be, I think, run first. They want to establish all of that and then let the passing game develop. But when you have a guy as versatile as Tommy Castellanos, you got to let him create. You have to let him run and get out in space. And I think they'll have a heavy dose of that as well.
What do you feel like you've learned so far about Alabama?
Well, I think this defense is going to be real. It's loaded everywhere you look on all three levels. That there's really good talent, really good NFL talent. They were good a year ago, and I think they continue to build on that. Interesting thing with your quarterback, obviously he wasn't better than Jalen a year ago, right? Or he would have started, he would have played, but maybe he fits the system better. We've seen that time and time again where maybe the quarterback isn't more talented, but when it's his time, does he come in there and just rip it and operate really, really well like that you got your offensive coordinator that you probably wanted from the get-go, and now he's there. And what does that look like for this Alabama team? Obviously, skill is there. As I mentioned, offensive line and defensive line stacked, really good players. There will be a talent gap in this game. So it's going to come down to coaching. And you've got a guy that has been in national championships, and you've got a guy that's been on the cuff of playoffs who can make, the right adjustments. And of course, you got Malzahn, who has won, and been in championships, been a part of championships. Who makes the right decision? Does it come down to that? Is that ever a factor? Or is the gap too wide and Alabama kind of runs away with this thing?
Of course, you're part of a new show, Mac and Murray, and your teammate Aaron Murray, a former Georgia quarterback, saw a clip, Eric. He seems pretty confident about Alabama leading into this matchup.
Well, he is, because he doesn't ever have to go to Florida State and answer to those fans and those coaches. So he can be a little bit more reckless. But listen, I think Bama covers as well. So I don't know if I'm going to go out there and say Bama smashes these guys as poetically as he likes to do. But it could be in the cards. And again, it's just different, right? Like Alabama, I don't think has to play perfect in any sense of the game to win this game. Florida State probably does. And Tommy Castellanos is going to have a lot of pressure on him to create, to get out in space, to do things accordingly. That's two very opposite ends of the spectrum. Not to say that it can't be done at all. And again, you're at home. What does that matter? Can we get some errors of a new quarterback coming in and communication and things of that nature? But at the end of the day, it's going to be an uphill battle for the Noles.
Once this game is over, we're going to rush back to the hotel and watch the Battle of the Death Valleys and the Tigers. Of course, your alma mater, Clemson, hosting LSU. What do you expect for that matchup?
Man, I'm so excited. Again, we talk about the magnitude of these games and, just how big this weekend is. And for you to have, arguably the two best quarterbacks in the country squaring off week one, and Garrett Nussmeier and Cade Klubnik there. What a fun opportunity for everyone to see, and a great opportunity for both of those teams. And, you know it better than I do, but this LSU team, they struggled defensively last year. They could not stop anybody. And so how have they gotten better? How can Clemson take advantage of that? And push the ball downfield. I think both of these receiver rooms are really deep and talented as well. I give, obviously, Clemson the edge just with the returning production. You look at the numbers, that probably speaks for itself on what they were able to do a year ago, the growth that we will see from them. But the biggest difference, I think, in the game, Clemson's defense, with the addition of new defensive coordinator Tom Allen, getting everybody inspired, giving everybody passionate, simplifying the fronts and getting guys lined up, going back to technical, know how to tackle football. That defense is going to be one of the best in the country. Clemson is going to be electric. You look at the players, the personnel that they have, again, all three levels. You're talking about potential first-round draft picks all across the board, and they might have two on the defensive line, maybe four when you talk about other year draft picks, because some of the guys are too young to be drafted. But I think that they give Nuss all kinds of fits up front. I don't know if it'll quite be like the Florida game last year where he was sacked, I think it was 7 times. But it might be. I mean, if they're throwing it 45, 50 times a game, he might be, just because this offensive line for LSU from a year ago, they're all in the NFL. They're all gone. This is a brand new offensive line in the Valley at night. I mean, it's going to be tough for them. And not to mention Peter Woods and TJ Parker, a couple Bama boys that I know your fans probably know pretty well, that are going to want to make even more of a name for themselves.
And then finally, the ACC will have really a showcase, a standalone game coming up Sunday. Miami hosting Notre Dame. I know that's going to be your focus really this weekend. That should be a tremendous matchup down there in South Florida.
Yeah, man, we're blessed. We get to go to Death Valley, and then the next morning we fly down to Miami to see the Hurricanes take on the Golden Domers there. Not a bad start to our season, to our weekend here. But yeah, excited for that opportunity as well. I mean, you've got the national champ runner-up from a year ago, Jeremiah Love, who might be the best back in the entire country, going against, this retooled defense of Miami, a unit that, Nick Saban said it, that unit kept them out of the college football playoff, maybe out of the national championship, because their offense was so good. So how have they gotten better? You bring in Coach Heatherman from Minnesota and his scheme, and again, simplifying, just get lined up. Can we just line up and be ready when the ball is snapped? They were looking to the sideline way too much last year. I think that problem has been solved. And you got Carson Beck, who's coming to town and is on a bit of a revenge tour. And, I got to go down to Miami for their, fall camp and see practice there. And the first thing I was looking at, how's his arm? Can he push the ball downfield? Does he feel really confident in his abilities, and that was a resounding yes. I mean, this guy's ready. He's got, I think, a better run game with him this year than he did at Georgia last year. He has a better offensive line, a more consistent offensive line. That's going to matter. Carson, he had to be super, or felt like he had to be Superman last year. And you bring up Aaron Murray. That's kind of what he was saying. He was doing too much. Well, that was because Georgia couldn't run the ball like they're used to doing. Miami's going to be able to do that. Miami's going to be able to run the football. And does that alleviate, pressure of him where hey, operate the offense. What's called? Where am I going? Where are my reads? Get to my check down. Let's go. I think that we're going to see the best version like we did 2 years ago of Carson back.
Well, Eric, safe travels coming up for you this weekend. Thank you for joining us to talk Alabama against Florida State, and tell Aaron Murray we like him right now if he keeps talking like this. But all the best to you.
He's full-fledged, man. He's full-fledged Bama boy right now. So check us out, man. Mac and Murray, you'll have a lot of Alabama pride coming from that Georgia Bulldog.
Yeah, we'll see if that continues September 27th. But anyway, Eric, really appreciate your insight and your coverage of the ACC. Just all the best. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, my man. Appreciate it.
This is what being a NASCAR fan is all about. Singular history and tradition, and triple header playoffs action to ratchet up the stakes. Get your tickets now at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com.
Sticking with our scouting report on the Florida State Seminoles, now it's time to learn a lot about FSU from Jeff Culhane, the voice of the Noles, who joins us for the other booth presented by Marathon, as he breaks down really kind of what we talked a little bit about with Eric, kind of what happened between that great ACC championship season in 2023, a lost season a year ago, but all the new faces. Jeff Culhane will break it down for us on the other booth, again presented by Marathon.
And this week we're in Tallahassee, the Florida State Seminoles, and the voice of the Noles, Jeff Culhane, joins us now. And Jeff, it's great to see you. Are you guys feeling the football fever like we are getting ready for week one?
Roger, it's great to talk to you, and we are excited around here, coming off of a tough season a year ago and stadium renovation. There is a lot of enthusiasm in the air, and it goes without saying, no matter what happened the season prior, Florida State fans get ready to roll for every single year. And this one is special with Alabama coming to town. Not a whole lot separates Tallahassee and Tuscaloosa. Just the sixth time these two teams will go head-to-head on the gridiron. And I think everybody is looking forward for toe to meet leather at 3:30 Eastern time on Saturday afternoon. So let's fire this thing out, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, we're certainly excited for it. And you mentioned a tough season last season. You go back to the year before that, a great season, of course, ACC champions, and we don't have to get into the playoff debate right now, but and what can be a roller coaster, great season, tough season, and now you get ready for this year. How have you seen Mike Norvell stay consistent?
Yeah, it was challenging, and he has been one of the most consistent individuals I've ever been around in college football. I mean, his energy, his enthusiasm, his love for his players is just palpable every single day. And it's, sometimes when you get around guys like that, you wonder is he always that locked in? Is he always that tuned up? Does he mean what oh yeah, he does. I mean, he is. He's almost a robot, but he's not robotic, if that makes sense. I mean, he is so consistent on a daily basis with his approach, with his expectations, that it's really impressive. And that's why last year was so stunning. Coming off of the end of 22 and starting 13-0 in 2023, winning 19 games in a row, you really felt like this program had gotten over the hump. Some tough times, obviously, where Jimbo left for Texas A&M, Willie Taggart came in, and things were not good, and Mike had to clean that up. And it took a little while, especially when you take over during the middle of COVID. So it felt like we had turned the corner, and, man, we just got smacked in the face with that a year ago. And I think it was, a snowball of a perfect storm of things from just a negative perspective that all came together at one time, and the snowball got started early in the season, rolling downhill, and we couldn't stop it. And so his consistency overall has remained the same from a day-to-day standpoint. Obviously, changes have been made, and this roster has been turned over quite a bit with 49 newcomers, but his energy, his excitement, his expectation continues at a high level on a day-to-day basis.
So he remains the same as the head coach Florida State, but now we have new coordinators. Somebody Alabama knows very well, and Gus Malzahn taking over the offensive coordinator, and then Tony White coming in from Nebraska to take over the defense. What can you tell us about those two individuals and how they're starting to change Florida State this year?
Yeah, obviously, Roger, the news that Gus Malzahn was leaving UCF as a head coach to be the play caller here at Florida State, it was surprising. Makes sense from a perspective of he and Mike Norvell's relationship. Gus Malzahn gave Mike his first full-time assistant coaching job at Tulsa on his offensive staff back in 2007, where he, Gus, and Herb Hand coached together with a high-flying, high-powered Tulsa offense nearly 20 years ago, and now they're all back together here in Tallahassee at Florida State. And so it was obviously met with some enthusiasm, and I think the excitement here is from a perspective of, look, everyone knows that Gus Malzahn as an offensive mind is elite, and it's what he's known for. And so now that he can just focus on that and get away from the business of being a head coach, there's some enthusiasm around these parts for what he could potentially put together from a game plan perspective in trying to get his personnel in position to have success. On the other side, Tony White is one of the bright, young, quote-unquote, defensive minds in college football right now. He's a disciple of Rocky Long. They ran that 3-3-5 defense. He played for Rocky Long at UCLA in the early 2000s, and he's taken that defense. He's put his own tweaks into it, and he's had success at Syracuse, excellent success at Nebraska the last 2 years, and now he's brought that to Florida State. And his expectations as well have been sky high, and he's been unapologetic about it. And it has, I think, from a player perspective, it's been a change of pace for what he's been asking them to do, and it's needed coming off of 2024. And so, the coordinator changes, the coaching changes, I think were all needed. And it really feels like before we played a game, Mike Norvell has done a great job. We'll find out more, obviously, on game day.
Sticking with the defensive side of the ball, who are some of the key playmakers our fans need to know about before Saturday?
Well, your fans know about Earl Little Jr., and he's a guy that has settled into that rover position in Tony White's defense. And you look at the 3-3-5, and some of the best players have played that rover spot. I go back to way back in the day where a guy by the name of Brian Urlacher played the rover position at New Mexico before he was a great player for the Chicago Bears in that style of defense. And so obviously Earl Little is not that size of player, but it takes a unique talent. It takes a unique star from a standpoint of this era of college football to be able to cover in space and also be physical and come up and help and support the run. And so Earl Little has sort of found his footing in this defense at that rover spot. Another name that will be interesting to watch against the Alabama offensive line, who I feel like is an elite one, obviously, and your fans know that. But Darrell Jackson Jr. at 6'6", 335 pounds, a guy that's been at Maryland, Miami, and now is in his third year here at Florida State. He's got first-round capability at the next level. Now, can the light switch stay turned on every play and on every down? And he has the makings physically of being one of the great defensive linemen along the interior in all of college football. And so those are a couple of names. James Williams came to Florida State with Tony White and Terrence Knighton from Nebraska. He's an edge rusher to keep an eye on that will try to get to Ty Simpson and get him on his heels a little bit, pin his ears back and get after him. And Elijah Herring, who was at Tennessee and last year at Memphis, has really emerged as a thumper in the middle of this defense at the linebacker spot. So those are a few of the names to keep an eye on, but certainly a matchup to watch is Florida State secondary against Alabama's elite wide receivers, who could be considered the best group in all of college football.
Of course, on the offensive side of the ball, a name we know very well, Roydell Williams at running back for the Seminoles. And then our fans, Jeff, also know the name of your starting quarterback, Tommy Castellanos, for some of his media appearances over the summer. But what can you tell us about this Florida State offense and the personality, I guess, we'll continue to see on that side of the ball?
Roger, you guys heard about that, huh? Back in
Yeah,
June.
that made the rounds here. Yes. Thank you for
Yeah.
the content in June and July. Yes.
Yes, the timing of that was perfect for national media and college football, and maybe made folks cringe a little bit who wore garnet and gold. But quite honestly, I thought when Tommy came to ACC kickoff and explained himself a little bit further, I thought he clarified things better. Certainly, it was very direct in what he said. I'm not taking anything away from those statements, but he's a guy that's really embraced the role of being the quarterback at Florida State University. And at every, big football program, big brand, the quarterback is going to get a lot of eyes and a lot of ears. And this is a guy that, his path has been one that has had certainly some twists and turns to it. It hasn't been a straight line. And he was born in Miami, played at Ware County in South Georgia, always wanted to be a Seminole. Grew up a Seminole fan. In fact, his cousin is former Florida State running back great Devontae Freeman, who won a national title here in 2013. And so he's always wanted to wear the garnet and gold. Started with Gus at UCF, went to Boston College, had success there in the ACC, and now has made his way. He's got one season. He's got one shot to be the quarterback, and he's really embraced it, Roger. And he's confident. His teammates are there supporting him. And he's really uplifted this group who is looking for confidence and needing a shot in the arm after a tough 2024. And I think that's how he clarified some of the things that he said, even though they were very direct, obviously, in how he stated them back in June. But a lot of eyes will be on Castellanos. Roydell Williams hopefully is able to stay healthy. Our coaching staff here very excited about his capability. Won an SEC championship with Bama back a couple of years ago, and Nick Saban's final year in 2023. So there's some pieces there. The wide receiving core is one of interest with a lot of new faces. Deuce Robinson from USC, Squirrel White from Tennessee, who had a great career there for the Vols, and a young man from Cocoa, Florida, named Javen Boggs, a true freshman who was Mr. Football in the state of Florida in 2023, beating out Jeremiah Smith, who obviously is a big name around the world of college football. That's a young man that people are excited about watching. And then up front, it's a completely retooled offensive line. You've got 4 newcomers and honestly 5 with Richie Leonard, a Florida transfer who only played in 4 total games a year ago. So there's a lot of new faces for this Florida State football team all coming together at once against a Bama defense that certainly is talented, physical, and will be ready to play when toe meets leather Saturday afternoon.
Speaking of toe meeting leather, how about the specialist? What's the comfort level for FSU's coaches with some of the guys we'll see in some of the key kicking spots?
You bet. Yeah. I mean, lose 2 great ones at Florida State. In fact, they were the highlights a year ago. That's how tough it was. In Ryan Fitzgerald and Alex Mastromano, all-American capable players. Mastro was an all-American. Really, we thought he was going to win the Ray Guy Award a year ago. That's how good he was. And Ryan Fitzgerald was perfect, kicking at 13 of 13 in field goals last season and extra points, and had a 59-yard field goal over in Dublin against Georgia Tech, the second longest kick in program history. Kicked 5 50-yard field goals a year ago. But it's Jake Weinberg, a redshirt freshman, who will be the place kicker. And he has got a huge leg, Roger. In scrimmages, he made a 62 and 58-yard field goal just a couple of weekends ago. He has had great success for a young player. We'll see what it's like when the lights are turned on brightest here this upcoming weekend. But he has got a big leg and has NFL caliber capability out of Pompano Beach. And then Max Cimento is the punter who has waited his turn behind Alex Mastromano. He'll get his first full-time opportunity as the punter in special teams here this upcoming season. And then in the return game, a name to keep an eye on is Jalen Lucas. He only played in 2 games a year ago, but was an All-American kick returner at Indiana and was tremendous there in KOR as a true freshman in 22 and a sophomore in 2023. So not a big body by any means, but he's short, he's fast, he's quick, and has had success in that category in previous seasons.
So that's everything happening on the field. Alabama against Florida State. Jeff, for fans who are making the trip to Tallahassee, maybe it's the first time they've ever been there, especially for a football game, any points around town or campus they need to check out? Any restaurants that are kind of a must-do? What would you tell our fans about, especially if Tallahassee, this is their first trip there?
Yeah, well, certainly you got to get into College Town. That's kind of our main area, walking distance from Doak Campbell Stadium. Encourage you to go to Bowden's. Obviously, named after the namesake of the great Bobby Bowden. It is a Florida State football museum with great people there, great food, good drinks, and great service as well. And so Bowden's, put that on your list. That'll be pretty easy to remember, obviously, for everybody. Bowden's in College Town, a place to go for any Bama fans coming in to watch this one. But just take in the entire experience. Make your way over to Langford Green. Make your way to the Unconquered statue. That's an iconic monument right outside the south end zone of Doak Campbell Stadium. And certainly it's big for us this weekend with our $250 million renovation of the West Stadium, Roger, that is now complete. And so that is a huge deal around here, and it looks unbelievable. It looks tremendous. Michael Alford and his team have done an amazing job in providing a very unique game day experience, one that has been needed for quite some time here, quite honestly, and we're going to have that unveiled on Saturday afternoon.
Sounds like a blast. Well, we look forward to Alabama against Florida State on Saturday. Jeff, all the best to you and the Seminoles and your broadcast crew getting ready for the ball game. We look forward to catching up with you on game day, but just thank you for the time you've given us on the Crimson Tide Sports Network.
Roger, great talking to you, and we look forward to a great football game on Saturday. Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate the time of Jeff Culhane. We'll be just a couple doors down from him coming up at Doak Campbell Stadium on Saturday for Alabama against Florida State. Coming up, we'll have Kalen DeBoer with the final word, but first we want to take a look at the upcoming schedule. Get you ready for Crimson Tide Athletics here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Of course, everything pointing to Saturday, Alabama against Florida State. 3 hours of pregame coverage will begin at 12:30 Eastern if you're in Tallahassee, 11:30 a.m. Central here in Alabama. And don't forget, you can listen on our full radio network, Varsity Network app, and once again, it's back this season. It's better than ever. The Booth Cam, presented by Regions Bank. They'll be streaming live. Coverage will start a little under an hour before kickoff coming up, but you'll be able to watch the entire game with us on the Booth Cam, streaming on all of our social media platforms, so make sure you join us for that. Also on Sunday, the Kalen DeBoer television show, and if you haven't watched it already, a great preseason edition of that show is available on demand, RolledTide.com, the Alabama Athletics YouTube channel. They'll have that show plus our TV affiliates across the state coming up on Sunday. Then Monday is a holiday, but Tyler Watts will be working at Baumhauer's Victory Grill in Vestavia Hills. I'll join him as well. We'll have a good time with Crimson Tide Rewind coming up at 6 p.m. We always have a great crowd of Birmingham area fans that always join us for the show. We look forward to the first edition of Crimson Tide Rewind. We'll see if Tyler Watts gets the same kind of hero's welcome that Corey Reamer always would get each and every Monday night, but can't wait to have Tyler on that show, breaking down Alabama against Florida State coming up on Monday. And then our week of programming after that, we'll have Crimson Drive driven by NASCAR, 2 o'clock on both Tuesday and Thursday as we look back at the FSU game, look ahead to ULM, and then don't forget Hey Coach and the Kalen DeBoer Show once again, 6 p.m. on Wednesday at Baumhauer's Victory Grill in Tuscaloosa. Again, make sure you follow us at UACTSN for the very latest on the Crimson Tide, kind of our view from the booth coming up on Saturday, some booth cam highlights. We'll have everything for you really right there at UA_CTSN on all of your social media platforms. Speaking of Baumhauer's Victory Grill in Tuscaloosa, that's where we go to close out this show. And what we saw at the close of the show last night, it was Hey Coach and the Kalen DeBoer Show, as of course, Kalen DeBoer was at Baumhauer's along with Ty Simpson, the starting quarterback for the Crimson Tide, and earlier in the show, Patrick Murphy, Audrey Vandegrift from Alabama softball. But on this Thursday Crimson Drive, we always like to close out the show with Kalen DeBoer with his final word. Have to say a huge thank you to our guests that we've had today, Quay Russaw, Eric McLean, and Jeff Culhane. Thank you to Ethan Carabin, our video producer, who put this entire show together. And now, as we say goodbye, this is Roger Hoover wishing you all the best as the season begins. Now let's hear from the head coach of the Crimson Tide, Kalen DeBoer, with his final word presented by McCurry Van and Car Rental.
It's time. It's time. And we've been waiting for this for a long time. And, the guys, I'm proud of the way they've gone about the business, just focusing on them, focusing on their job, and trying to be the best they can be every single day. But now it's time to go play someone else and see exactly where we're at. And, the start of a journey, but we're really focused just in the moment and looking forward to Saturday.